Oh, sorry. Stephen, Taryn, I don't know if you can hear me. Hey, y'all. I'm sorry if I just hung up on everybody. I'm like I said, I'm a little new to this, so I'm sorry if I hung up on everybody. I restarted the broadcast. If I hung up on you a minute ago, please forgive me. If you can, let me know that. Let's see. I see 3 attendees so far. If you can hear me, would you please go into the chat and just type your name or say hello or something, just so I know that you can hear me. And let me know if you can hear and see me. I'm sending a message right now before we get started. Everybody for jumping on. I really appreciate you taking the time out. This is going to be really great. We're going to have a good time while we do this as well. And yeah, this is all going to be good. This is all going to be good. Going to be good. Going to be good. Okay, my microphone is showing that I'm picking up something, making sure that everybody can hear me. I think we've got most people in attendance now, ready to go. See the little hand raise button for Taryn. Thank you. Joy, can you hear me? Sorry, I hung up on you a minute ago. Can you hear me? Send me a chat. If so, on the side there, you should be able to type in the chat box. Just let me know if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. You'll notice, if you notice, there's a handouts tab. In that tab, there are 2 PDF files. They're available. One is 10 steps to buying a home. It's just check boxes on those, and then there's also a first-time home buyers like path PDF that I have as well that'll be good for you. It's editable, so you can get in and use that. And I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about how you do that before we end. And then also too, there's a home buying plan. We're going to use that at the end of our presentation here today, and it's going to be kind of your plan moving forward. So those are all of use to you. Like I said, what we're going to kind of do today, this is my first time actually using this, so please bear with me. I am working from home. I'm in what we call the ladies lounge, the pink candles, and you don't know if you see I don't know, there's something up there, some kind of award or something up there. You see the pearls in the back. My wife is a proud member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I think I said that right. If not, I'll be in trouble later maybe. But you may hear my boys come running through. That's just the perks of working from home. So I'm not going to apologize for that. It just is what it is. For everybody, welcome. Thank y'all for being here. We're going to go through these slides, and if you have any questions, do me a favor, type them in the questions. Okay, I can see. Oh, Joy hit me with the ski wee. I appreciate that. Okay, so I must have said it right. Stephen can hear me. Joy, okay, everything is good. If you have questions, go ahead and type them, and I'll kind of go through this. If I see them pop up, I'll do my best to answer as is. If not, I do have a question slide at the end, and we'll answer any questions that you have. Okay, please feel free to ask any questions. This is for you, and this is especially for making sure that you have a clear understanding for moving forward. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my my screen and share it, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Let's see, webcam, there we go. All right. If you could, all right, so we should be, hold on one second, let me minimize this. All right. All right. Do me a favor, let me know really quick, let me double check. let me know if you can see my screen right now. Can everybody see my screen? If y'all don't mind, give me a little feedback. Make sure you can. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Anybody, can everybody see my screen? I'm assuming if Stephen can, everybody else can, so I'll take it from there. Thank you, Joy. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is the first steps. Let me minimize this thing. This is a first steps home buying prep. Now there are first time home buyer seminars that are out there and available. They will have a more in-depth seminar. They go into making an offer, you know, what it's like even after owning a home. All that is actually good and necessary. For most people, I found that the hardest part is getting going. And that's with anything momentum wise. I think back in my science classes, I remember the best thing in getting in motion is actually getting it moving. So once it gets in motion, you can keep it rolling. And I believe that once people get in motion, I can help them, especially keep it rolling from there. So what I like to do is help get everybody prepped before what it takes right before we start house hunting. All right, because if you go in and you got everything in order right before house hunting, it's going to make your experience great. All right, so that's kind of what this is all about. All right, so very little bit about me. I'm a real estate professional with Coldwell Banker, Linhart Properties here in Longview, Texas. I serve the East Texas community. I can sell a house in Dallas. I can sell a house in Houston. It's just not best practice because I don't know those areas well. Also, I'm not a part of their listing service. So all that information that I'm not privy to, I'm privy to here. I don't have that access in Dallas and Houston as of yet. I'll be hitting 3 years in May as an agent, and I really enjoy it. This is my passion, especially working with first-time home buyers because I've been a first-time home buyer. I'm married with about to be 3 children. My beautiful wife, Alicia, is the most wonderful woman in the world. I'm pleasure to be married to her, and she's cooked up some awesome children, and she's currently cooking up one more right now, who's going to be awesome as well. We don't know the gender yet. As a matter of fact, here, I'll give you all an opportunity just to put your opinion on here to get started. What do you think the gender of our new baby will be, boy or girl? I believe it's girl. There are no twins, so don't even answer. Don't even do that. There are no twins. Okay. We're coming up on our 3rd child, and I do believe that it's going to be a girl. Super excited about that. We bought our house exactly 1 month before our first son was born, so there was a ton of pressure on it. We got the keys January 19th. Mikey was born February 19th. We've been a homeowner for about 3 years now. Excuse me, about 4 years now. And we had a terrible experience buying a home. It wasn't it was especially the end. The closing part was what was most difficult, but it started because we didn't have a really good plan in place starting off. We had a plan, it just wasn't a very good plan, right? So I became a realtor because of that experience, also some other things, but especially because of that experience, I decided to jump in and become an agent. As a matter of fact, I had been laid off from my job, and I was working for a gentleman who builds homes here in Longview, and I was laying grass. We were getting grass ready, and I looked up at the house and I said, "Oh man, I could sell these." And from that point on, I messaged my wife and I did my studies and passed my test, and here I am today. As a matter of fact, the house that I was actually laying the grass down on, I actually sold to somebody. So it's been kind of a great experience, and I really believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. Um, I love one super important thing. I love having home to come home to, and I want to help others who want this experience. That's kind of my mission, as you know, taking the experience that and the joy that I feel and trying to pass that forward. Even being self-quarantined right now, all of us are at home, and this is my home, and I love having that sense of gratitude. So I grew up in a single-family residence. It was a different buying experience, and all this kind of fed into why I became a realtor. because I had a different buying experience than what my dad and my mom had. What my grandfather owned land north of Longview. They paid $22,000 for somebody to come out and put the shell of a house up, and then my dad and my grandfather put the rest up. They built the rest of the house. It's a great house. My house isn't better than theirs. It costs quite a bit more, but I'm not saying my house is better. It's just a different buying experience. I didn't want to live in the country. I love living in the country. At the time when we were getting married, I didn't want to live in the country. So buying a house in the city, of course, is going to cost you quite a bit more. And so I just didn't have anybody really. I didn't know a lot of people that own homes, and a lot, especially for young minority brothers and sisters. I didn't know too many people that were walking this path. So when I got into it, that kind of fed what I wanted to do when I bought my house. Growing up in a single family residence, which is standard house, uh, made me want to also have that same experience as a husband and father. So if you don't mind, tell me a little bit. If you can type in, what is your background on housing? Did you grow up in an apartment rental? Did your parents rent? Did they rent a house? Did they rent an apartment? Did they own? And if you desire, share a little bit about how that shaped your decision now. So did you move around a lot? Were you stationary? All that's important. Just kind of type it in. I'll review it later. This is just kind of, for me, because it's always interesting. I believe that behind every house and every home buyer, there's a story, and that story helps to shape people. So if you don't mind, go into the chat there and type in a few words about your housing background and also to how that's affected you. As we move forward, we're going to talk about, we got 3 steps today, okay? I put an hour and a half. It probably won't be that long. I do that to be safe because sometimes I'm a little long-winded, according to my beautiful spouse. I don't believe that I'm that long-winded, but I better be safe. Better to be safe than sorry. So we got 3 steps, and the first step today is the reasons. I used to have some music on here. It won't show up now. That old song, the reason that way. Okay, I'm not gonna do no more singing. I don't know how good this Apple microphone is anyway, so it may not pick up the exact how great my voice is. So I'm just gonna move forward. Today, in the first step, we're gonna talk about your goals. All right, so why do you want to buy a home? It's very important before you do anything. You want to know the why. Why do you want to buy a home? Is it simply a place to live? Have you always dreamt of owning a home? Is it a future investment? Whatever that is, if you can go into the chat and type that in. I am going to ask, I meant to say this earlier, I am going to ask you to be interactive because I don't want to, normally I do this with a lot of people in the room and I can interact with them. And part of it is also sharing and hearing some of the things that each person has. It kind of helps to, it kind of helps to shape some of your thought process and may give you an idea of some things that you may not have been aware of before. And will help you to make decisions. So if you don't mind, I am going to ask you to go over and take a look at those. I'm sorry, input your answer there, why you want to buy a home. If it's something other than those 3 options, you can put that as well. And then also too, would you put in by when would you like to buy a home? What's your time frame? Are you looking in the next 3 months? Are you going to look in the next 6 months, year, 2 years? All of it is important, and I'm asking for a reason. You'll see it here in a little while. But go ahead and type that in. That way you can hold that number in your mind and kind of be prepared. Here are some things to consider, some reasons to consider. And this all fed into why I wanted to buy a home. For one is wealth creation for your family. I share a lot with people. I read a crazy, for one, they talk about, I'm not one to really worry too much about outside factors, but there are some things that you look at our society and you notice some differences, and you hear a lot about the wealth gap between especially whites and blacks. I don't know necessarily the numbers between other minorities, and that's not really the point. The point is, if you trace back what causes generational wealth, the main the central thing is home ownership. For example, back in the Oregon Trail days, right when Oregon became a territory of the United States, all those that had been there and were already working, mining, and doing things. Actually, the government gifted many of them with the land that they were working on. It was, I think it was like 40 acres or something like that, maybe a little bit more. And then after that, people were buying property at like $2 an acre. You know, of course, there's inflation, all kinds of things now. That $2 is actually more probably like, you know, a much higher number now. I don't know the direct corresponding numbers, but imagine buying a property at $2 an acre, passing that on. You know, say you pass it on to your kids, they want to live there, they pass it on to their kids, the kids don't want to stay there anymore, the grandkids don't want to stay there, they sell it. You know, or they keep it and let them keep appreciating it, or they sell it and get the capital back. At that point, you know, imagine how much money is handed down, you know, and moved forward. People, more opportunities are there. So the opportunity to create wealth actually, for most families, starts with home ownership. Why? Because now this is long term. This isn't really short term. Some of it can be, you know, if you come up on the right deal. But for most people, this is a long term thing. If I finish paying off this house in 30 years, pass it on to my children or my grandchildren. Say my son goes do something else, he has grandchildren, and God forbid if something happens to me, I pass away, the house is in my son's name. My grandkids decide, hey, you know, after high school, I want to go to school at Kilgore College, you know, or I want to do something working from home or whatever. They could possibly even say, hey, what if we go stay in, you know, Grandpa Mike's house? Grandpa Mike's kind of weird, but you go and stay in Grandpa Mike's house, you know, stay for free, you know, paying just electric. I mean, you imagine if I'm paying, you know, $1,000+ every month now, if they're able to not have to pay for rent or anything like that, that's $1,000, $12,000 every year that they're able to put somewhere else, you know, possibly towards their dreams. That could help create wealth. So all those things are important, right? The gratification of home ownership is the second thing. Like I said, I just love being a homeowner. I love having a home to come home to, and it's very important to me. The equity. Equity is your ownership stake in a home. So as your equity grows, then also too your ownership stake grows, and you are able to at that point you can also you can borrow against it, you know, and things like that, which you can use for, I mean, for God knows what. I mean, if you want to start businesses and things like that, all that is an opportunity. So those are three things that I found important, that I wanted to make sure that I was that was, you know, fueling my decision to purchase a house. Moving on to step two. You know, the step one is very important. We don't want to skip over a step. The whys are important. And as I'm helping you in preparing to buy a house, the reasons why you want to buy a house are important, because I want to help, you know, when it does get kind of difficult, if it does get kind of difficult, I want to be able to help motivate you to get over the hump. So it's not an easy thing to do. It's kind of it's pretty simple, but it's not an easy thing to do. So we're going to move to step two, and this is very important. Step two is very important. The preparation, the prep. Now, any good recipe you could find, you go on the internet right now, you look up a recipe. Any good recipe it gives a prep time before the cook time. Why? Because in that prep time, it's actually what's going to come out of during the whole baking or frying or whatever, the cooking process. It's really determined by what you do in the prep time. If I'm baking a cake, and it requires eggs, and I just take the eggs and I just toss them in. If I just toss them in there, we're gonna have some crunchy cake. Nobody wants to eat crunchy cake. That's kind of gross, you know. So what's happening in the prep and the time that it takes to prep is all important, right? So I want people to be very aware. It's not as simple as going up, doing an application, boom, you got an apartment, okay? Or you got rent. You know, it's not bad. It's a great thing, but it's not as simple as that. There are other things that go into it, and the more that you have prepared ahead of time, the easier it is for you to walk into the cook time or the house hunting time or the closing time, whatever you want to call that. So there's three things in step two that we're going to deal with. We're going to talk about identifying needs. We're going to talk about locating your current positioning, and then we're going to talk about gathering info and resources. All right, this is all going to be very important. And step three, a lot of the information that that we get here is going to be placed into step three, and it's going to help you be more confident when purchasing a home. All right, so identifying needs. I just want to talk a little bit about renting versus owning. What's your opinion? If you don't mind, text there, type there in the chat. What's your opinion on renting? Do you think that renting is great? Do you feel like it's a waste of money? Some people feel like it's bad. Some people feel like it's good. Let me know your thoughts on that and how you feel about it. And moving on, renting. So renting does have its perks. So I'm not going to talk about pros and cons. We're just going to talk about basically the perks and the reasonings why people do different things. Now there's different seasons, for people. Some people are just dealing with different things now, especially you're coming out of college or high school, and maybe just your easiest path going into the job force, whatever. Hey, it's just best to rent right now. There's no telling. There's a lot of different seasons for people. And then personal choice. Some people really just prefer to rent. They don't want to do yard work, anything like that. They just decided, hey, renting is best for me. Maintenance. Being a renter with most rental property, not all, with most rental properties, if something happens to the home, you call the owner. The owner comes and fixes that. That's kind of the perk. You have your standard rental fee, and then within that, the owner normally takes care of the home. So maintenance is a big reason why people rent. And then ownership responsibilities. There are a lot of things that come with buying a home. It's not easy to be in the house. As a matter of fact, I was talking with a gentleman at the post office, and he talked about when after he bought his home, he's like, man, I told him, I said, most people spend about 1% of their purchase price on maintaining their home every year. He was like, man, I feel like I do more than that. There are ownership responsibilities that come with this. Even there are certain things that you can't do in certain neighborhoods, depending on where you are. There are certain expectations that the neighbors have for you once you could become a part of that neighborhood. Even taxes, things like that. All that are ownership responsibilities that some people just don't want to. They're just like, I can escape those right now. The practicality. If you're on the move or something like that, of course, renting makes sense. I've got a friend. She probably knows who she is. She's moved around quite a bit for her job, and so now being here, she's still renting. Her and her family are still renting. As far as I know, they haven't owned any home before, so this may be our first opportunity to buy a home. And like I said, it really just it's practical not to lay your roots down with the house when there's a possibility that you'll be moving for your job. So the practicality of it, and then like I said, that also ties into the career and occupation as well. So planning and goals. There's just so many different things that that renting. There's not as many tie-ups, I guess, with renting. And like I said, once something establishes roots, it's kind of hard to move that. It's not impossible to move, but it's harder to move that. And depending on your goals and things like that, renting may make sense. Now, ownership is appealing to a lot of people because of things like housing costs. The rental fees are just constantly going up. I've heard of $200-300 differences in rental fees, and that can make a tremendous difference for somebody. So the great thing about owning is you don't really see as much fluctuation. Maybe if the taxes go up, your home is appreciating, the taxes go up, or you see a difference in insurance. That may cause your overall, your monthly amount to go up or down, but it won't be that much. It won't vary that much. Then there's, of course, the fixed rate, and that's the reason why those housing costs kind of stay there, because the fixed rate interest rate is probably a 30-year fixed rate. There are some adjustable rates that make sense for some people, but for the most part, fixed rates are what makes the most sense, and that keeps that amount from going up and down. You know pretty much what you're going to be paying in your premium and interest every month. And then the equity, of course, like I said, that's an important part of your ownership stake. If you know, as long as you're renting, you're actually paying for somebody else's equity. And housing, when you buy a house, now that equity that you're paying in actually becomes yours. And then I heard somebody say this, it's basically a forced savings, you know, and what, 30 years after I paid this house off, that's basically $130,000 plus, if everything keeps appreciating the way it does, $130,000 plus that I have in equity that is there for my usage if I need it. You know, I kind of want to keep it, you know, keep that equity, and don't give anybody else any ownership stake back into it. But if I needed to, if I wanted to start a business or something like that, I would be able to, using my equity as collateral. The affordability is a big thing as well. So for you, as you're deciding, you know, thinking about buying a home, here are a couple of things, suggestions that I have in identifying your needs. You know, where should you live is a big decision to make. But there are a couple of things that come to my mind when we were buying a house. Is, you know, the commute to work. My old job when I bought my home was right off of Estes Parkway. We now live right off Judson Road. Judson Road turns into High Street, and I literally had a straight shot, maybe 5 to 7 minutes from my job. Alicia was the same. We've actually even gotten even more close because we're right in the middle of town. We can basically get anywhere we want within 15 to 20 minutes in the city of Longview. The daycare or school for children, like I said, the same thing. It's easily accessible for us to get to my son's daycare, and there'll be school next year if we go back to school. You know, it's kind of a funny thing. But then also to the last thing I would suggest is, you know, thinking about your comfortability with neighboring people. I live, you know, there's what, 15 to 20 feet between myself and my neighbor's house on both sides. We've got a nice sized backyard, and I can't even see my neighbors on the backside. It all works well for us. We didn't need too much space, but we didn't need too much space, but we didn't want to be right on top of our neighbors. And there really are some houses where you're like right there next to your neighbor. You open your blinds and boom, you're looking in your neighbor's bathroom or living room or something like that. So that can be really weird. I got a fly in here, and I hate flies. Get out of here. All right. So where should you live? What size home do you need? There's a couple suggestions for you. How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Most people can pretty much figure that out. We ended up buying a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and it seemed okay at first. Now being in here, I just kind of, it's a little bit irritating having to use the guest bathroom to go and shower and then leave the bathroom in order to go get dressed. You know, it just becomes a hassle. It may not be like that for you. You may not care. You may not have very many people over or anything like that. We got a big family, friends come over, so you know, we just didn't. We would rather have the privacy. So we didn't consider that. We did consider it, but we didn't think it would be a big deal. And it's not a huge deal, but it's just not as comfortable maybe as we like it. We still love the home. Still got a lot of great things going for it, but you know, just something to consider. Yard size, please consider mowing. As a matter of fact, I've got to get out here and mow my grass. And I just cut it last week. The rain hit, boop, popped right back up. Right now I got grass sprouting up everywhere, and my neighbors cut their yard, and then we looking bad. You know what I'm saying? So then a little comparison gets in there, and I got to get out. Got pressure on me now. No, but that, and then square footage. Square footage. Here's a suggestion. It's kind of weird, but it works. Most people know about what size home they want. And then also too, it's kind of hard to gauge. So if you've been in a house before, you think like, oh man, I was really comfortable here. It seemed like I had a lot of space, or just the right amount of space, or whatever I needed. You know, and you don't know how much square footage that house is. What you can do is go to the appraisal district, which that county of that house is in. So if it's in Longview, you can go to gcad.org, type in that address, and actually see the square footage of that home. You know, that's public information. It's kind of weird, yes, but also too is public information. So it's there for your consumption. Something to just think about. And then future plans, you know, your family size, are you going to be relocating? The idea of buying a house sometimes is more sexy to people than and then the practicality kind of goes out the window. You know, the idea of owning a home sometimes can be romanticized. And my job, you know, I tell everybody this: I'm not here to sell a home. You know, if y'all decide to use me as your realtor whenever you decide to start looking, I don't necessarily sell houses. What I do is empower people's decision to buy a home by giving them the right information. And sometimes I have to make hard decisions to say, hey, listen, you say your goals were this. You know, are you sure this is going to meet your goals? This decision is going to meet your goals. Are there any other factors that you're considering? If there are, you know, type them in. You know, I just want to be able to add things to my presentation. Y'all are my guinea pigs on this, you know, so I'm asking for feedback just because I'm kind of feeling this out. Like I said, I'm used to having a room full of people to engage. But if there are other factors that you're considering, just type them in the chat there as well, so that I can go back and you know, take a look and see if there's anything else I need to adjust. And then also too, as I said, people can see your questions and everything if you give it to the group, and or your comments if you give it to the group, and there could be other things that people need to consider. Locating current positioning. Now this part, this is probably the crux of everything. This is the super important part. If you don't got a notepad, I'll give you like 10 seconds. I'm gonna talk for a minute, for a few seconds, and get your notepad. This is where we really got to get all of our information. This is gonna be the information gathering portion. So my analogy and example for this, you know, most people don't travel now without their phones, because there's GPS on the phone. That GPS system allows people to get from where they are to where they want to be just by typing in the address. Well, it's not that simple. So people type in the address. The easy part for Google Maps or Siri, whoever you're using for your navigation, I mean, they pull up the address just like that. You know, what they need to know, for one, is where you're coming from to get where you want to go. So if you're typing like ahead of time, I forgot what that old system used to be that we use for getting our route together. But let's say you're planning ahead of time and you type into Google, hey, I want to get to 3055 Sioux Street in Dallas, Texas, right? It's gonna be able to pull up exactly where you want to go, but in order to get directions, it needs to know where you're coming from. And a lot of times when we're driving, we do it instantaneously instead of typing in where we are. It actually locates our position using the satellites and the GPS system. It locates our position. That way it can give us the steps and directions to get where we want to go. All right. So what we're doing right now is locating where you are, and in the areas that are important as far as purchasing a home. That way you can decide what else you need to do in order to get yourself prepared. You know, what steps you need to take in order to get yourself prepared to get to that home buying destination. So the first thing, hope you got your pen and pad ready. First thing is current place of residence. Are you renting right now? If you're renting right now, the important thing to know is when your lease ends. You need to write down when your lease ends. When will you have to move out? Why is that important? For closing purposes, house hunting purposes, most people don't know that when you put an offer in on a home, if that offer gets agreed upon, you'll have between, in this area, you'll have between 30, 45, maybe even 60 days before you actually close on that house and you can move into it. That's important because if you're wanting to move into a house in May, you probably really need to get started right now. House hunting, especially in this market and this time period where everything's kind of going kind of crazy right now, you're going to need possibly a month. It may not take you that long, but you got to prepare as if, you know, something may go wrong. My sister-in-law actually looked at houses for a year and a half. You know, she wasn't in any dire need to move or anything like that, so that made a big difference for her. She also had a smaller budget. She was looking for a particular thing. But if you're needing to move quickly, you really got to get all these things in place very quickly, because it's going to be important for you to make sure you get a contract on a house soon. I don't really propose having to make that pressurized decision. Like I said, I'm sorry, y'all, this fly is going to drive me crazy. But like I said, my wife and I, when we moved out of our duplex, we decided to buy a house. We were thinking about starting a family. We were already a family, adding to our family, let me say that. We decided to move out of our duplex, went and talked to my in-laws. My in-laws said, hey, okay, y'all can come in, move in with us. Y'all got to pay some of the bill. Cool, fair is fair. We got a chance to save about $800 every month. Our plan was to put $10,000 away for a down payment. Let me just say right now, that number sounds good, and it's not bad, but it also did not necessarily match up with the goals that we had in mind. We just didn't know it at the time. But we moved out. Found out, I say this, so I'm getting in trouble. We found out Alicia was pregnant as we were, right after we let our landlord know that, hey, we were moving out within 30 days. We were on a month-to-month rental plan after renting for a year. Well, that was important because all the pressure was off of us as far as needing to be out and be moved at a certain time. Let me say this, if you are currently living with your parents or someplace for free, do not hang your head down. Do not feel any kind of way. Don't let any societal pressures change you or anything like that. Stay in that place as long as you can, all right, until you're ready to buy a house. Get all the things in place that you need to while you can still use that, because that's very important. Spending money while you're trying to save money, it just drags the process out, of course. So if you're not currently renting, you're able to stay somewhere for free, my hat's off to you. I'm a little bit jealous. Keep on doing that. So jot down when your lease ends. That's important. And the second section is credit and debt. Now, have you checked your consumer credit score? That's important. And a lot of people use type of yes for me if you use Credit Karma, freecreditreport.com, or maybe your credit card bill in order to check your credit score. Do me a favor, type yes or no if that's how you check your consumer credit score. That's not bad. It's just not the best. And if you haven't, that's okay. I'll tell you how, and I'm gonna tell you why. So when you're looking at your consumer credit score, you're basically looking at 2 of the 3 credit bureaus. Why that's important is because while in a lot of places, like when you're applying for a credit card or going for Best Buy trying to get that 10% off or whatever, you can utilize that. They utilize that credit score, that consumer's credit score, and it is good for being able to check what kind of debts you have. That's why it's credit and debt section. You can check your debts and things like that to see if there's anything on there that looks fishy. But when it comes to the mortgage lending side, they actually take into account that third credit bureau. You don't have access to that anywhere else. And that becomes important because there is a formula that mortgage lenders have to use in order to check your credit, right? And most people, when you check your credit score on Credit Karma, you actually could be seeing about a 20 to 25 point difference in your credit score either way. It could be for the worse, it could be for the better. For myself and for my wife, it was actually for the worse. So I had my chest, I was pumped up, ready to go when we went and applied. First place I applied is Eastman Credit Union. They have a lot of great programs. I applied at Eastman Credit Union and got denied, and it was because of my credit score, and I couldn't figure it out because I had worked to pay off certain things and get my credit score up to what I thought was a 700. I was in the 700s. I thought Alicia was in the high 600s, I believe. But it comes to find out, I score plummeted. I was actually closer to like a 630, and Alicia was below a 620. That made a difference because Alicia couldn't apply for an FHA loan. She couldn't apply for a conventional loan. So I ended up getting on using a conventional loan, and how we were able to fund everything in my name, but it only included my income, not hers, because she wasn't on the application. She still, of course, is on the deed. It's community property. We're married. When I signed for the house, both of us signed to be on the deed, but the mortgage is in my name. Well, was in my name. It's in both of our names now. So that's important. The best way that I tell everybody, like I said a minute ago, I don't try to sell houses. The only place where I become pushy, the only place is here. You need, in capital N, capital E, capital E, capital D, you need to apply for a mortgage right now. It doesn't matter if you're wanting to purchase in, it doesn't matter if you want to purchase in a year. It doesn't matter if you want to purchase in 2 years. It doesn't matter if you want to purchase in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. You need to apply now. Why? Because the lender, for one, can check your credit. And basically what happens, either you're going to get approved or you're going to get denied, right? Both of them are good for you, right? So let's say in 6 months you want to buy a house, and you say, hey, I go ahead and apply, and God forbid, but you get denied. You feel really confident, for some reason you get denied. What the lenders, let me just be very plain. Lenders have to lend money in order to make money, right? So a lot of people, there aren't as many people that are in position to buy right now. So what they have to do is actually come and help people by educating them and showing them exactly what it was that kept them from being able to approve them, right? So that's good information for you. Let's say you just got one small thing on your credit that you need to get taken care of, or maybe you took care of it, but it never came off your credit score or your credit report, and all you need to do is send in a letter or something like that. A lot of things can get worked out, but if you wait until the time that you're ready to buy a house in your timeline, you're actually going to you run a greater risk of running into a hurdle that you won't be able to get over, and then you're having to go to plan B, which may be staying in a rental or finding another place to rent. So it's very, very, very important. They're going to talk to you about your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and they're going to talk to you about money that you have ready in order to, and what options you have moving forward. All that information is the most important information for you as a first-time home buyer. It is the most important information for you as a home buyer. Whether you're building, buying, a pre-existing, whatever, you need to be able to secure the financing. Here's a little analogy. Imagine you're selling a TV on Facebook online garage sale or something like that, or at your house in a garage sale. You want $500 for it, right? It's a huge TV, nice TV, 70-inch, 4K. I don't know why you want $500 for it, but that's just what you want. Somebody walks up to you and says, I give you $450 for it. You say, no, it's worth a little bit more than that, about $475. They say, okay, boom, $475, we agree. You shake hands, you go to get the thing, and they say, oh, wait a minute, I've got to go find the money. You would be like, wait, why did you come to me saying that you wanted to buy this if you don't actually have the money? So the reason why I give that analogy is because for you as a buyer, when you're going and you're offering to purchase something from somebody, you want them to be as confident in you as possible. The way you do that is by securing the financing. Once you secure the financing, then you're able to go to whoever you want within that price range, because the lender will give you a number back, like 200,000, 150,000, whatever that number is. And everyone comes in, they're gonna say, hey, you got this amount that we can lend to you. And then you take that letter wherever you go, and you can confidently say, hey, I want to purchase your house for a certain price, and I know that I've got the financing secure for it. So that is the most important thing. I had to make a decision as an agent starting off, because I was showing houses to people that weren't approved early on. I had to make a decision, because of time away from my family, time away from people that were willing to do what it takes to get qualified for a home. They would take me around and, hey, we want to look at this house, this house, this house, this house. They find a house that they love, want to put an offer in on it. And then I've had several deals that didn't work out because they couldn't get financed. That's why I said this is the only place where I'm pushy. I don't get paid by the hour. Everything that I do comes on the back of the exchange of a home. So I get paid a commission. So I had to really, be a little more decisive with my time. And then also too, it helps all the buyers that I work with. If you have this information, I just had a teacher the other day. She wasn't planning on buying until June. Things changed for her when she found out that she could actually buy right now. So she did an application. She said, "Yeah, we really want to buy this time." And I said, "Look, if you'll take a big chance, because it is a bold step. If you'll take a big chance and apply. Don't be afraid of a possible denial. That's kind of the scary part for people. Don't be afraid of the denial. If you do get denied, there's a plan we can put in place in order to get you back. But once you do that, and once you get approved, I'm telling you, it makes the whole journey of buying a house so much better. Okay, so that's super important. Please, please, please. You don't know who to apply with. That's okay. I'm going to give you some suggestions here in just a little bit. Now, your income and income move. I'm gonna get off my everything right there. I get a little passionate about that. But the income and source is very important to lenders. They want to know that not only that you have money, but because they have to have paper trails, they need to know the source of your money. Also because they want to make good decisions. It's very important to lenders. Lenders are checked by the government. After 2008, after 2008, our housing market crashed in 2008. Many of you probably remember lots of things changed, prices changed, everything kind of was in the tank in our economy. But what was exposed at that time was that people were receiving what is called subprime loans. And basically, people were getting approved for houses, for an amount of money that they actually weren't qualified to be in, loans that they weren't qualified to be in. And that bubble burst on the housing department, on the housing industry, when things started going south in the economy. All of a sudden, people couldn't afford to pay for their homes, tons of foreclosures everywhere, and then boom, the government has to step in and say, "Hey, why were y'all lending people money that actually shouldn't be lent money?" So there are some federal regulations that all lenders have to go by that kind of keep them, even if they would really, really love to lend you the money, you've got a great job, but you've got some things in your credit that haven't been cleaned up, they have to say no, unfortunately. And like I said, if you've been in a job, you don't have to be at a particular job for 2 years, but you do have to have a track record, a history of 2 consecutive years of working. And they want to see that you're not bouncing around a lot. Once you start bouncing around too much, they kind of say, "Oh, I don't know that you're going to be very safe to lend to, because we don't know how long you're going to be there," right? So all that is important to them. So the income and the source. That also, like I said, the debt to income ratio actually makes a difference in how much your lender can lend to you. One big thing before we go into how much can I afford, because this ties into it. Your debt to income ratio, you have to have in your income, your gross income, your debts can't exceed more than I think it's like 60% of your gross income. And at that point, anything above that, the lender can't lend to you. You have to have that much available to be able to put towards housing. Moving into how much I can afford, this first question of do you currently have a budget is super important, because the lenders are going to give you this big number. So they say they give you, let's just go with a number that a lot of people are familiar with, $150,000. That's great. $150,000. People walk up to me all the time and say, "Hey, I want to buy a $150,000 home." That's great. How much is that per month? It's all different depending on your interest rate, depending on your credit. All these different things factor in which lender you choose. All these things factor in. Taxes factor into how much you'll be paying back every month. The reason why I asked, do you currently have a budget? Because anybody that I work with, I say, "Hey, what's your budget per month?" It's not because I'm going to be holding that above your head all the time, but I do act as accountability for my people, because the one thing that I would hate for them to do is to be what we call in the industry house broke. You know, you can get the house, but you can't afford to put anything in it. You can't afford to maintain it. That's actually the worst thing. So if you currently have a budget, what you do, you take that budget and you place it, and it's actually going to be your guidance on houses that you purchase. So we go out, we look at a house, it's within the $150,000 range. Say it's at $150,000, and you got to be paying $1,300 every month, right? But your budget was $1,200 every month. I can't stop you if you want to put an offer for that, but I am going to be the first resistance to say, hey, are you sure this is going to be something that will be beneficial for you and your family? Especially if you got a family. You know, is this going to be beneficial for you? Because if you start spending extra money, you know, you're not going to be able to put that towards savings. You're not going to be able to put that towards food or whatever it is. So that's important to have out front. And as we're looking at houses, once you find a house that you like, we'll take that information, we send it to your lender, and they give an estimate of what you'll be paying every month. And most of the time, that's pretty close. And then you can make a decision from there on whether you want to actually put an offer in and purchase the house. And then savings. Here's a super important part as well. I think I've said that about all 5 sections. All this is super important. Your savings. How much do you have to back off? The first section we come up on is the down payment. Here's a question I'd like for you to put an answer to. How much is required for a down payment? Let me give you a second. Type there, how much is required for a down payment. For those of you, if you've already on here, you already pre-approved, don't answer this. You know, I don't want to, don't cheat. No, I was playing. But if you're already pre-approved, then go ahead and put what you thought was the amount you need to put down for a down payment. I grew up thinking that it was 20%, and it used to be. I thought that information was the same, but it's actually not. For each individual, it can be different. My sister-in-law just purchased a home in January. She actually got in for zero down, right? She didn't put any money down. Of course, you end up paying for that in like interest rates and things like that. But if it all works out for your budget and you don't have to bring any money to put down, that could be the best option. If you do have money to put down, that's an even greater option because it keeps your interest rates down, keeps how much you pay back every month down as well. So it's different, and that's another reason why it's important to apply, because once you apply and you apply with multiple lenders, you actually can figure out where your down payment is going to be. It may be 3.5%, which is standard for FHA loans. It may be 0%, which is some places have those packages available, like Eastman Credit Union. And then moving on to the next is closing costs. Closing costs. Now, closing costs typically are between $4,000 and $7,000, right? So that's on top of the down payment. That's separate from the down payment, and this may or may not apply. A lot of times we offer to purchase a home. I help people by submitting an offer, and within that loan, we also factor in the closing costs and ask the seller to pay that. And what we do is pay that off as buyers in the long run. You know, it becomes a part of the loan, and then we pay that back. Sometimes that can cause you to actually miss out on a deal because if a person is asking for $150,000 and you need $5,000 in closing, that actually reduces theirs $5,000, but they take $5,000. Now, if somebody comes in and they say, we don't need closing costs, but we'll give you $150,000. People most times are going to keep the $5,000. So that can make a difference. If you can get yourself to prepare monetarily, you know, it kind of gives you the advantage as a buyer. And then lastly, how this question here is, how else could you get money for things like a down payment or closing costs? Because that is a lot. Say you need, you know, 3.5% of, let's just do 100,000. 3.5% of 100,000 is $3,500 plus, you know, maybe $5,000 or $6,000 in closing costs. That's $11,000. Like, well, how am I supposed to get that money? It still turns out to be a lot. There are options out there for you. For one, like we talked about, there are mortgage loans that kind of fit needs. You know, the FHA loan can get that money, can get that down payment percentage down, and then also too, like being able to negotiate those closing costs into the contract can be really big help. Another option is your retirement. A lot of people don't know and this is how we actually purchased our house. I used about $7,000 from my 401k to purchase our home. And the great thing about utilizing your 401k is you're not penalized for using it to purchase a home, and then also too, you're not taxed on it either. And how that money gets back, you just pay yourself back. This is your money. You get taxed for pulling it before you should, but that retirement comes when you use your retirement, you actually just pay yourself back over time. And so you don't get penalized for that. That is a great opportunity. If you do have a 401k or a retirement plan, check with your retirement company and see if they have that option. You shouldn't be getting penalized for borrowing from your retirement in order to buy a house. I know that's with the 401k. I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of retirement plans out there. So check with your financial person on that. And then also too, there are some grants available. TSAC. TSAHC has a grant that's available. You get up to like 5% down. You pay a little bit more in interest and you have to qualify, but you can actually go onto the website and see if you qualify. I am Gregg County's lone TSAC operating realtor. So if you go on there, you have my information. There's a question, qualifying questionnaire. You go through that and then you see if you qualify for it. If you qualify for it, then it's possible you can be receiving 5% to put towards a down payment, and anything left over you can actually use toward closing costs. That's huge. So if you're doing, again, $100,000 home, you've got $5,000, 5%, you get $5,000 to put as a down payment, and you only need 3.5 with an FHA loan. That's only $3,500. You can use the other $1,500 towards closing costs. So that helps a lot. And then also too, for certain income levels, for lower income levels, there's also the community development loan here in Longview. I don't know about this in any other city, but I know the community development department here under the housing authority has a grant available for up to $5,500 towards down payment or closing costs. It's a ton. You pay $75 for a class, and then you move forward. You take the class, and then you get this awesome grant. So that's important for people to know. And then also too, hopefully you haven't used up all the income tax refund yet. As your money anyway, use it towards purchasing if at all possible. So I hope I hope that opens up some options for you as far as being able to conquer this down payment and closing cost hurdle that a lot of people run up on. Moving forward, because we're running low on time, gathering info and resources. Here are some basic home buying terms that you should be familiar with, just so that you're making an informed decision. The agent, title company, and under financing, there should be lender. Those are the three agents that are agencies that are going to be helping you in the transfer of that property into your ownership. And then also to info on credit help. If you need it, if your credit is pretty low and you're like, man, what should I do? I've got some people that I work with here in Longview that are really good, that will help with credit. But then also to, after you apply for that loan, most lenders, if it's not too far off, most lenders can help you say, hey, these are some of the decisions that you need to make to help you buy that house. So lenders, most people don't know who to use to apply. This is an important place right here, and I'm going to send you in the follow-up email. You're going to get a list of lenders here in Longview that I've personally worked with and I trust a ton, because they're not going to blow you off if things don't go the way they want them to go, and they're not going to treat you bad. They're going to be attentive to your needs. I'm going to send that list out to you. But it's important that you know more than one. On that, the document that says test, it shouldn't say test, but that's how it's labeled. It says test. At the bottom, you'll have a list of 3 lenders. That's important because within the first day that you apply for a loan, because it's a because it's a home loan that you're applying for, yes, you'll get the hard credit hit, but then you've got 14-day window to apply with as many lenders as you want to in that time period. That way you can shop for best rates, best loan programs, all those different things. You can get a feel for who you really want to work with by interviewing them and getting an idea, have some questions prepared. So that is super important. Get your list of lenders. If you don't see your lender on the list that I send to you, add to it. And even if you got somebody in mind, I beg you to shop around. Again, that's the only place where I get pushy. Shop around, get multiple responses to see which one is going to be best, which one is going to save you money. It could be a substantial amount. Then budgeting, if you need budgeting help, if you don't have a budget already, please put that in place. It's going to be super important for you. And it's how it's going to help empower your decision. If you need help with that, let me know. I can send you some tools on that as well. And then first-time homebuyer programs and incentives. There are not as many first-time homebuyer programs out there as there used to be. Most people are referring to, a different time period right after that crash, and people were, the housing department was trying to help people get back into purchasing because this actually supports a lot of our economy. I just talked about the community development grant is something to know about here in the Longview area. There may be more in your area, wherever you are. Check that out. Just go ahead and see it. Ask the county what they have. They may have something that would be very beneficial to you that most people don't utilize because they just don't know. And I know our community development department, they say, hey, we're trying to find people, and they'll only get like 1 or 2 people actually to take the classes, and now they've got this grant money that they're not able to use because people can't seem to find out enough about it. So ask those questions and see what's out there in your city, okay? Step 3 is creating the plan. Now, in those handout, in the handout section, you actually got the opportunity to get your plan together. And this is going to be your statement and plan for getting into your first home. All right. This is going to be where the confidence really kicks in. Right. So here's the statement. My goal is to close on a home by whenever that is. When do you actually want to move into the house? I will need how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? It's different for everybody. I will need for me, it was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath home in whatever city that is to meet my family's needs. I want you to be specific in that. Is it just you or you and your family? That all, makes a difference in the why you're purchasing a home. And then after that, it says, I currently am in or not in or in a good position with my credit and savings. And you may say, how do I know what to circle there? Well, that's why you got to apply. Once you apply for that loan, you're going to be able to answer that question very easily. And once you answer that last question, if you know that you're currently in a good position with your credit and savings, everything's going to take off from there. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months down the road. When 3.5 months go by and you start looking for a house, you're going to be super confident. I mean, super confident walking in to house hunting, looking. You're going to be able to make a decision based on what you want and what you need, not having to pick something last minute because you don't have much time. I need to raise my credit score by how many points? So after you talk to the lender, if the lender doesn't approve you, or it's not just if you get denied, if you've got some time and you would like your credit score to go up so that you can get a better rate, how many credit points did you need to go up? You can talk about that with your lender. Whoever you decide to work with, get comfortable with them by asking these questions. And once you do that, the higher your credit score, the better your interest rate will be. The interest rate just means a lot of savings for you. If you go to my Facebook, I'll repost it again today. There's a video I talk about why interest rates are important, and you'll see the difference in what interest rates do for you. And I need to save at least how much money. That's important. Fill it out. And like I said, the easiest way to find out is to apply with the lender. As a matter of fact, I had a young lady just apply. Not only did she get back what she was going to be able to put down, but the lender also gave them a max amount of what they should be expecting to pay in closing costs. And so you just get that information up front, you can figure out how to tackle it. I need to reduce these debts, you'll list them out. there on your form, and then my lease will end at what time. And hopefully you put NA in there. Hopefully you don't, there's no pressure on you, but if there is, you need to know when that is, so that way you can start making a decision. And when we talk, we can make a good plan for you. Okay. So these are a couple of the lenders that I was talking about I work with. Rakee Snoddy with Vera Bank. She's really good. She communicates very well. If you that website there, that is a link to her online application. And this, I'm only putting a couple examples up here. Her and my good friend Roberto Monsivais. These are a couple of examples. I want to send multiple to you, and these are all good friends of mine. Actually, Rakee Snoddy is a family member of mine. The reason why I send multiple is because when banks compete, you win as a buyer, right? So they're all competing for your business, and I let them know, hey, even when they come and do these presentations with me, I bring multiple lenders in because even like for myself, in all of this, you need to make a decision that is comfortable for you. If me and you start working together and say you want to give me a try, for one, I would encourage you, go ahead and interview other realtors as well. I don't mind competing for the business because I want to do my best, and I believe that I can prove that to you. But do the same thing with lenders. They can prove that they're going to take care of you as a buyer. You know, you're in a 30-year relationship, maybe a little bit less if you decide to start paying more ahead of time, but you're in a long relationship with this lender, and you want to know that you can go and contact somebody if something goes wrong. You need to be comfortable with the decision that you make. So, and each one of those applications normally take about 10 to 15 minutes. Right now, a lot of people have 10 to 15 minutes. You know, there are a lot of people that are at home. That's why I decided to go ahead and do this online ahead of schedule, because really, I mean, we can utilize this time. If you're at home, you've got internet. I know Verizon just gave me 15 extra gigs for free. You know, they know that people need to stay home, and they're trying to help out right now. Utilize this time wisely. If you've got it, go ahead and put in as many applications as possible. It's only going to help you in the long run. Okay. All right. Thank y'all very much. Now we're at the question part. I'm going to open this up real quick and see if there were any questions that I can answer. Awesome. Divide by, let me see, $20,000. See, yep, $20,000. I saw that. I thought the same thing. Yes, credit card shows it. Credit card only shows your consumer credit score. Don't forget that. Do you have to, here's a question from Joy Bass. Thank you for submitting this, Joy. Do you have to provide both spouses' financial information when purchasing a home? And the answer is yes, especially if it's an FHA loan. That's important because you can't, nobody can purchase an FHA loan if you're married by yourself. Like, you can't go on that loan by yourself. Both spouses have to qualify for that. With a conventional loan, you probably still have to provide that information, but it doesn't have to be counted. You know, they can say, hey, okay, we're just going to use your income, your debts, and we'll just utilize that in order to facilitate the loan. That's okay with a conventional loan. For FHA, VA, USDA loans, both parties are going to have to submit their financial information, and it's all going to be used to determine whether or not somebody is capable. Let's see. I thought it was at least 10%. Okay. Let me see if there's any. What is the percentage for down payments? Like I said, Bryson, thank you very much for answering that question, man. I hope you're doing good, Bryson, man. I haven't seen you in years, man, but I see you on different social medias, man. I hope you're doing well. Like I said, that percentage for down payments, it is different for everybody. It may be 0, it may be 10, it may be 3.5, it may be 5%. I hope, man, that I said something today that will trigger you to want to go and apply so that you can find out that information for yourself. I don't know where you're currently residing, man, but if you're not in the East Texas area, even if you want me to help you devise a plan, man, hit me up. I'll give you everybody my information here at the conclusion. hit me up, man. We can talk about it over the phone. We can do another FaceTime or something like that, man, and get your plan together to make sure that you are aware of what that percentage is. Unfortunately, realtors can't tell you. Your parents can't tell you. Your friends can't tell you. Nobody can tell you what your down payment is going to be. The only way to find that out is to apply. Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions before we wrap it up? Anybody else? Let's see. I think Stephen Holloway, believe we're gonna have a girl. Hey, my guy. Thank you, man. Yes, we're gonna have a girl. We already got the name picked out. Okay. Awesome. I see some feedback here. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Any other questions before before we end this webinar? Like I said, y'all, I am super grateful that you decided to be a part of this. Thank you so much. I truly believe in what I do, and I love to help people. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. I love to help people. So if you are, if hopefully you've got some information, if there's more information that you need, please contact me. Let's talk about a plan. We'll use those handouts that I gave and devise a plan for you. If there's something that you want to do, go ahead and email it to me. That's at thejohnsonwayrealty@gmail.com. Email that back to me, and then we'll start moving forward on devising a plan for you based on your timeline. We'll put it on a calendar so that you can see exactly what you need to be doing when you need to be doing it, and use that statement for confidence. Okay. And it said, my job is not to sell homes. My job is to empower your decisions with information. So if you need information, no matter what it is, if I covered it, you don't remember, for one, this is being recorded, and I'll post it for people to see. But the presentation, I'll be emailing out because it's all for you to have. If you got any questions at all, please, 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 y'all, I can't beg enough, because doing this for 3 years, I recognize that sometimes these things get really, people get a little nervous about submitting information. Please go ahead and submit information to me or questions to me, and I will help you to get from where you are to where you want to be in that home, in that house that you'll love to call home. Okay. All right, y'all, this has been great. If you got any questions or anything, please reach out to me. Share this. I'll be doing another presentation soon. Thank y'all so much for being a part of the inaugural webinar. Y'all are my guinea pigs on this. I'll send a survey out as well, and please let me know if you've got any suggestions. Also, too, if you go back to the Facebook post or Instagram, wherever you saw it, and just put on there whether or not you enjoy this or not, share it with somebody, and that way I can start doing this again for other people. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.